And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Valley of the Judged. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me, I have two of my good brothers here in the temple. We have the three-eyed master of dad jokes, good brother Joe.
Gotcha, keep it real.
Except when keeping it real goes wrong.
Damn it.
Yeah, I can make bad jokes too.
It was a reference, not a joke.
I know it was a reference. I just pulled a reverse card is all. But in addition to that, we have our resident sky pirate, good brother Sizer.
Ahoy and avast, Joe. Ahoy and avast, Mildra, and to chat as well. Ahoy and avast.
Yep. So we are back with a brand new season for the Valley. Now, like I did before, this time around I asked Sizer what genre he'd want to see, and I think originally you had said, I think you had said space opera. If not space opera,
yes,
then science fiction.
Yes, that was basically it.
I think you had also said wanting something a bit OSR, but I had made clear why that wasn't exactly an option, at least not for a full season.
Yeah. Nope, totally fair. Didn't you originally pick something else, and then we moved to this, or am I making that up? Okay, there we go. Yeah.
So the original plan, which may be covered in the future, was the Elite Dangerous RPG by Spider-Mind.
Mm-hmm.
However, then this project dropped, a fan translation for the Armored Core 6 TRPG, and I had asked you, is it okay if we pivot? Because I think this might be closer to the mark.
And yeah, absolutely. You know, I've not really played Armored Core very much, except for 2 missions of Armored Core 6. But I'm a FromSoft fan, so I was happy to give this a go.
And something that I know for a lot of people, their main exposure to From Software is the Souls games. But you look beyond the Souls games, or even what they were doing before Demon's Souls, which, as an aside, they didn't think was going to work internationally at first. Um, you have a very wide and wild variety of games, and of course, the big one for the longest time was Armored Core. And
Wait, who did Front Mission?
Front Mission was Square,
Oh, you're right. You're right.
and also, aside from one game that I don't like talking about, was more of a tactics affair rather than a action game.
Hmm?
Like Armored Core has been around since the PS1 days, had its ups and
Mhm.
downs with some of the weirder control setups, and has had it's had a dedicated fan base for the longest time. And one of the games in the Armored Core series proved as a kind of foundation for Miyazaki, that being Armored Core for Answer. If you go back and look at it, you can see some elements of Miyazaki's story presentation in it. It isn't obviously a one for one. I wouldn't say it's Demon Souls 0 or something like that. But even the Souls games were a successor to something that had been done in the past. Specifically the King's Field games. Which King's Field has a long and illustrious history just as well. And also kind of asshole-ish.
Evil gameplay.
Yep.
Or game design, I should say.
It was also the first incarnation of a weapon that has shown up in literally every FromSoft game since, in one form or another, and that being the Moonlight Sword.
My go-to.
Yep. And it started out as a late game weapon in the King's Field games and has gotten a cameo in everything FromSoft has done since. Whether it be in stuff like Ninja Blade, there's a deep cut for some folk, or Murakumo, or Otogi, which, as an aside, Otogi is the action game on the Xbox that was my go-to for the longest time. Yes, it's not as good as Ninja Gaiden Black, but I enjoyed its sense of style.
You enjoyed the presentation.
The presentation, the combat approach. One of the early designs of the model that you see here was loosely inspired by the Crimson King in Otogi. And looking at the chat here, yes, there's an Armored Core RPG. This has been around for about a year, but only got translated about a month and a half ago, at least full translation. Up until this point, the only thing we had translation-wise was somebody who had translated the character sheet. And there was talk within the Armored Core subreddit of a fan translation. It's just, if I had known about it earlier, I would have planned around it, but just shortly after I said, okay, we're going to do Elite Dangerous, then this drops. And of course, if it drops in one place that's focused on Japanese tabletop, it's going to drop in all of the places and servers that I follow that are focused on Japanese tabletop. I know the only other person I knew who had talked about it ahead of time was CJ Lung, who had said he had an issue with the lack of role-playing mechanics, but if I'm gonna be real with you, the term role-playing mechanics is useless. It is about as useless as I don't know, condoms at Burning Man. But a big reason I say that is because what is actually defined as role-playing mechanics is never set. It always seems to fluctuate around this it's the same frustration I have with people who try to define JRPG to me, where the definition is not consistent. And when it comes to language, if you're going to be communicating information, I believe a little bit of consistency is warranted.
Sure, but when you say role-play mechanics, are you talking about like narrative mechanics, or are we just talking about mechanics for a TTRPG?
It's more the latter, and that's as far as people are willing to go as far as what exactly is meant by role-playing mechanics. And that's the reason I say because I remember hearing the whole, oh, it doesn't have role-playing mechanics back in the 4th edition D&D days, but nobody would actually explain to me what that meant, which frustrated the hell out of me, because how am I supposed to respond or counter that when it's just a buzzword getting thrown at me?
Like, what exactly do you mean by roleplay mechanics?
Mm-hmm. I've seen people say elements of the rules that are put in there mainly for role-playing characters, and I'm like, that's not a mechanic. That's a cue card.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah, like by not having those, you can literally bring in everything, anything.
I've seen one argument of an example of role-playing mechanics being things like the aspects in Fate, but those are a cue card.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cue card with a couple of extra steps, but a cue card nonetheless. And if I'm being honest with this project, it is not trying to emulate all of Armored Core. It's not trying to do like what I did. It is only concerned with Armored Core 6, which I'm perfectly fine with, because trying to do just the parts list combined from the different Armored Cores across multiple generations of games would be a little bit insane. You'd also end up having a book that's probably 1,200 pages long.
So I'm guessing that there has been different tabletops for each of the Armored Cores?
To my knowledge, no.
Oh.
At least not officially. Now, if there were ones, I'm willing to take the L on that, but I haven't seen it.
Or if there were ones, they haven't been translated.
Mm-hmm. Now, and I've seen some argue this is a cash grab, but that's another useless term, because what defines a cash grab in this case is never stated. Plus, that kind of phrasing always sounds like someone just trying to be a performative cynic. And you know how I feel about that. But I do want to read off a translator's note that he had put in. This was translated by Machetti. This is a one-man translation job, and a pretty damn good presentation for one guy. Saying this is an unofficial translation of the Armored Core 6 TRPG. Nobody has received any compensation. To start off with, thanks for being interested in this. If possible, please support the official release by either getting it through official channels. I purchased the digital version through Bookwalker, Japanese only, as well as the physical version through eBay. Or hopefully, if one day an official English version is released. The original translation is by me. I got really into it during 2025, and it was a ton of work turning this into a PDF, as it was my first time doing anything like this with an insane amount of mistakes made. My original scan, I realized after doing all the pages, was low quality, meaning a lot of time was spent using my phone to translate from the book when the screenshots I was throwing into Google Translate weren't reading properly. Then I'd read it, try and clearly erase the Japanese while interpreting Google Translate to what I think the original was trying to convey. And then, like an idiot, I'd have the digital version on a separate monitor, screenshot an image, copy it over, and position it over the low quality one because the pictures are pretty. I repeated those steps all the way until the end of chapter 5, where I realized I probably should have just rescanned the book in higher quality, because, man, Chapter 5 with all the parts and pictures was rough. So I rescanned the rest from that point onwards, and wished I'd done it earlier. For the rules, especially with dice, when Google Translate wasn't precise enough for me to understand, I had to do a lot of thinking and interpretation on what I thought made sense to the TRPG. And that's most of the book, outside of examples and gray boxes. I would read the poor Google Translate, think about it, and then rewrite it to flow or read better, at least according to my eyes. Chapter 7 is probably where I added the most of my own touch and prose to try and enhance it. Chapter 7 is the GM section and the sample scenarios. That ends with the Destroy the Ice Worm mission. We won't be covering the missions when we get to that point because, for the same reason, a lot of scenarios in these kind of books we don't cover.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Then he goes, want to know how much work I put in? I pulled up a walkthrough of AC6 with subtitles, wikis, stuff from the literal text so I could be as accurate as possible to the original source, and then added a crap ton of descriptions and prose based on what I saw because I didn't think the original did enough to set the scene. And then I went further and added in optional lines, the stuff you'd hear during a mission, extra dialogue because I got really into it and I wanted the best I could offer, and tried to do that for as many of the sample scenarios as possible, while trying to make sure it was seamless. Additional note, when I was writing dialogue and whatnot, my mental image was that it would be all the GM speaking, holding up a sign to indicate who they'd be, like their Walter holds up a sign with Walter on it. They're describing a prose or scene, hold up a prose or scene setting, or Dafeng's student pilot, hold up sign, you get the idea. Do as you like, it was just how I was envisioning how I would run it. And I think that's the end of my rambling. I wanted to put this in here because it was a lot of work and I wanted everyone to know. There's obviously typos, mistakes, and so on. Some gray boxes I left in Japanese because I got lazy, as they're just examples of the rules that the page is explaining. And while the proofreading project sort of fell through, big thanks to Brandy Donowart for proofreading and editing Chapter 1, and editing the English into the absolutely dope black and white art. As well as... ouch, my peewee. Okay. For proofreading and editing Chapter 5, similarly done, they did it quickly and well. And again, a big thanks from me, Macketti. Armored Core 6 was my first true exposure to AC, and I'm happy to be a quiet part of this community. I hope this brings joy to someone's day, or even better, a group. Extra note, I think I like this to be... I think to get this like the original book, print this double-sided. This was originally a blank page.
Less.
So, after that, we have a color version of what we saw on the first page. This being the Nightfall AC, which I'm going to assume this is going to be built around Daka because I don't see much in the way of melee. And yeah, most ACs are going to be built around ranged combat, though AC6 has slightly more attention on melee than some previous entries.
You know, just from the little bit I played, it did feel like the sword was pretty powerful.
Mm-hmm. Then a collection of screen grabs from, I think this is from one of the opening scenes, which an elaborate opening cutscene to set the stage is pretty standard for Armored Core. That they've had that kind of thing since, I want to say 2. Actually, no, not 2. They had it since the original. And we have what looks like a much speedier one with Steel Haze, which kind of reminds me of the Steel Haze here. Kind of reminds me of the box art Armored Core from 2. But now this book does not have bookmarks, which is unfortunate, but given that this was a one-man job, I'm not going to be too harsh on that front. And one thing that's going to be interesting, just looking at the table of contents, is it talks about handling dice and playing cards. So we have a return of that hybrid approach we saw in Magic Punk. Uh, and like I said, for this episode, we're going to be mainly covering the prerequisite knowledge section and the player section.
Indeed. I'm almost wondering how much, just based on the way that I saw, again, the little bit of knowledge I had, how much the pilot character sheet, if there even is one, is really going to matter if we're going to mostly be focusing on ACs and their loadouts and parts and so forth.
Um, we have a translation of the character sheet, and it is a single pager.
Okay.
And a lot of that sheet is focused on the AC itself.
Okay.
That's not to say there isn't, because of how integrated AC pilots are to their mechs. Having a stat sheet for the pilot would kind of be pointless.
Okay.
Uh, because it is because this isn't a case of beat of piloting. Even though you have multiple potential mechs in the garage, the way the cockpit for ACs has always looked in some of the design materials, uh, honestly reminds me more of piloting something in 40K than anything else. Just because
Okay.
whether it be like a Titan or an Imperial Knight, just because of how integrated you are.
Right, or like even like a dreadnought where it's like a dead space marine or
They're not
something.
dead; they're on life support.
Okay. Wow, what a violent means of life support.
I mean, they're supporting
Anyway,
life, not their own, but
yeah.
And the whole idea is with a dreadnought is this marine got fucked up, but he's not fully dead. But the body isn't going to be um isn't going to be all that operable. So put him in something
Yep.
that's gonna let him still serve. Hence the whole, even in death I still serve.
Indeed.
Um, so you could kind of think of it as a mechanized Iron Lung.
Yep.
Not to be confused with the game or movie, but so first we have a overview. Um, and go obviously this is focused on the fact that you are piloting an armored core in on the battles on Rubicon 3. Um, and taking part in battles of various organizations in accordance with a mission given. You're given the call sign of Raven, which, depending on the game, Raven has been an organization or it has been just a singular code name.
And it's always attributed to the main character
Yeah,
in some way.
yeah. In some cases, the Ravens are a elite mercenary organization, and you end up getting the title of Raven, or it's a case where it is your call sign. But obviously then they go into things like GM, PC, the player character, scenarios, and as well as campaign play, and then the design intention. which is basically that's saying that trying to 100% emulate the video game is not possible, and this is more about getting the spirit of it. And those who are more familiar should help reinforce the image of the game without giving away spoilers. Uh, and as well as a sidebar saying a game where everyone can enjoy battles and unit configurations. This game is a combination of battles and AC assembly. Many other TRPGs place emphasis on storytelling and characters. But in this game, those aspects are left to the GM's scenario description and aren't supported by this book. This is because the original...
it doesn't have role-playing mechanics.
Yeah, I'll take that seriously when people can actually define it. I know you're just taking the piss. Oh.
Yeah, I am.
This is because the original is a full-fledged action game, not a TRPG. People aren't displayed on the screen, and there is almost no portrayal of the protagonist's mental state. So the game follows the original and focuses the fun on combat and assembly. For this reason, the game is designed to be played with the same storyline as the original. If there's a problem, use the AC to solve it with combat. This TRPG is mainly combat-focused, but you can still experience the TRPG feel of a cooperative analog game in which all participants consult with each other and work together to solve the problem. In addition, the GM can create their own scenario and enjoy dialogue and stories in scenes that didn't exist in the original using their creativity and imagination. They can create a new story based on an organization different from the original work. The fact that this can be enjoyed in such a way makes this TRPG unique. I look at that as almost a response when people look at it and go, "Oh, you're doing nothing but combat. This is just a miniatures game or a board game." And I feel like that is a fundamental misunderstanding of what can be done with RPGs.
Mm-hmm.
As well as the fact that there does seem to be this not insubstantial amount of people that feel like you can't do storytelling and combat in the same breath. Like the two of them are mutually exclusive from each other, when really they're not.
No, I mean, if you're essentially telling, with Armored Core, it's essentially a war story, right? And with all the tropes therein, and that's going to rely heavily on a combat-focused system.
And within the games proper, between missions, there's a lot of communication with either other pilots or clients. Especially if you take the arena route. Which is where certain, even if you never see the actual character, you're gonna see something from them through through either the call sign or the tag that they use to identify themselves. But then they go into what you need for the game. So, participants, a time and place, what the GM is preparing. So as far as what you're going to need when it comes to randomizers, the GM, it looks like they are not going to be using any dice. They're going to be using a set of playing cards. The only thing you're taking out of the deck of cards are the jokers.
Oh, it's like the reverse of parcelings.
For everyone else, they're going to need the rulebook and at least 8 d6s. 8 d6s per character. But then they go into session flow, preparing for the session by the day before, preparing the scenario, prepping AC and operator, self-introduction to PC and ACs, start a scenario, and then end a session. So scenario-based play, which is a fairly common thing you see across Japanese tabletop. So that things could be played in a lengthy campaign or replayed in a single episode.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so on the player side of things, a player can either handle the AC pilot and AC, much like in the original work. If there are 3 to 4 players, one of the players can act as an operator who helps the pilot in AC, much like Handler Walter or Airy in the original. Um, if there are 4 players, one of them must be an operator. The operator is not on board the AC and gives instructions and assistance to the pilot via communication from a safe base, mobile aircraft, or ship. That is interesting, and hopefully, as we get further into this, we'll see what the operator is going to be doing as far as how they interact with the system.
Indeed, you would normally feel like that would not be nearly as fun of a role to play, but I'll trust their design here
Mm-hmm.
for the time being.
Yep. So then it goes to how to handle dice. Um, so dice are going to be used in 2 forms. EN dice representing the energy game in energy gauge, and judgment, deciding the content or object of something, is how dice are going to be rolled. Sometimes you might get a reroll, other times you don't. And the whole reroll thing is also about what to do if dice get tilted. A lot of this is going to be standard for us, but keep in mind every game is someone's first. Uh, and as far as playing cards, um, if you're asked about the value, aces are low. Interesting. Um, jacks are 11, queens are 12, kings are 13. And there's also a thing of the higher the value, the faster. Certain enemies may have a plus added to their numbers. If the values of the playing cards is the same, the number with a plus is faster. If no plus symbol, the suit is faster in this order: spades, hearts, diamonds, clubs.
Hearts, stars, horseshoes, clovers, and balloons.
Didn't you do that joke last week?
I can't recall, actually.
And I will put up a link to the Reddit page where the translation is available. I thought I did earlier, and I can't put it in midstream, so that's my bad. But then they go into how to read the book, the overview of each chapter. So we have the prerequisite, the player section, which we'll get to later, the base rules, the battle section, the garage, which is going to be the biggest bulk of the book, the enemy section, and the GM section. But let me see. Actually, let me. You won't be able to see. You won't be able to see it yet, but I will put in the translation into the thing. And for those of you watching on Twitch, let me take care of that. My bad for not putting it up sooner. But after that, they go into a overview of Rubicon 3. what is meant to be essential knowledge for any mercenary there, i.e., this is the baseline knowledge that the PC should have. Um, and obviously, this isn't all the info on Rubicon 3. Uh, I do like this. They say, at the end of the day, all that matters to you mercenaries is survival. I hope this information will be of some use to you as you head out into the battlefield. So, a world where even interstellar travel has become commonplace, Rubicon 3 is a development planet located in a remote star system. As development progresses on Rubicon 3, a new material called coral is discovered. A major disaster occurs when coral, the new energy source, causes a catastrophe engulfing the entire star system in the fires of Ibis. Comms with the outside worlds is blocked by the planetary blockade mechanism. Coral was thought to have been destroyed in the fires, but its existence has been rediscovered in recent years. The conflicts over the interests of Coral with the Rubiconians and extraterrestrial corporations begins once more. The ambitions of local forces fighting back and the greed of these corporations have only intensified the conflict. Those who threw themselves into this conflict were mercenaries piloting humanoid weapons known as armored cores. Which I know some might say, oh, the locals on Rubicon are probably the good guys in this scenario. No, there are no good guys in Armored Core. Everybody's working for somebody. Everybody's using somebody to their advantage, and it's more of it is about you and yours. And smoking craters tell no tales. It makes some pretty good autocannons, though.
Mm-hmm.
But the substance coral is one of the big reasons why it was even possible to settle Rubicon 3. And after the whole fires of Ibis, the land is covered in ash, has become desolate and frozen, leaving deserts and snowfields. And coral pollution has left a lot of the land barren, with only a few plants remaining. The cities that were settled are mostly ruins and are not suitable for habitation. And so yeah, this isn't a place that's going to get resettled anytime soon because it is a shit show.
Yep.
There was also a massive rapid transit network called the Grid for development of Rubicon 3, but most of it is inoperable. And what is making things even worse is the three-way battle between the Corps, the locals, and the Planetary Closure Administration. And it's not like they all see eye to eye either. But coral is the root cause of the conflict and the tragedy surrounding the planet. It was supposed to be an energy source that would herald a new era. It's unstable, is often observed as a particulate matter that emits red light. When used as a weapon or power source, the red light phenomenon is observed. It can also remain suspended in the atmosphere and can be seen by looking up at the sky. It has a diverse use of ranges and utility. As an energy source, it's possible to generate an extreme amount of energy when burned, which can be used to power machines and weaponry. As food or as a drug, which isn't recommended because it can cause coral contamination and poisoning. But it does produce a sense of euphoria by ingesting it as a drug, and is highly addictive. It can also be used as fuel for the mealworms, which is then cultivated by Rubiconians and is their main subsistence. It can also be used as an information conductor. This function, called C-Balls, can be used to amplify human senses. Early augmented humans were created with this, and the surgery was inhumane and alternative techniques are now used. Within a lot of the games, there's the concept of human plus or its equivalent. Human Plus was what it was in the original games, and that's kind of what I've called it since, of this kind of hidden augmented human approach. Ah, so some things don't change. Um,
Like biological enhancements or cybernetic enhancements,
yeah.
something along those lines.
Mhm. But the fires of Ibis were the result of large quantities of corals burning and exploding in a chain reaction. Most of Rubicon 3 was burned to ashes as a result of it. The flames began penetrating the stratosphere, igniting and consuming the surrounding star systems, spreading coral contamination and creating a catastrophe. Due to this disaster, the ISB 2262 development plan at Rubicon 3 was sealed off, and any future plans of development were halted. It is currently under the control of the Planetary Closure Administration. Then, half a century later after the fires, what thought to have been destroyed, coral was rediscovered. Which is why you have the current shit show, because everybody thought, oh, after the explosion, coral got completely wrecked. But nope, it's still there, which means you essentially have a gold rush with guns, or the reincarnation of these. I won't say the reincarnation of the scramble for Africa, because nobody's trying to grab land. Because
Just stuff.
yeah, the land isn't going to be of much use. Nobody's going to try and recolonize Rubicon 3.
No. But, when it comes to coral, you can shoot it, you can eat it, you can use it in surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you want that?
Yep. But then we go into the basics of what an armored core is. So ACs tend to have a height of about 10 to 15 meters. Though that's not standard, it really depends on configuration and manufacturer. But every AC is composed of a core, head, chest, legs, weapons on both arms and shoulders, a generator, booster, FCS, and some other components. The heavier it is, the more powerful and larger armaments it can carry, but it's also slower. Lighter units are more agile, but they're going to be a bit squishy. And then they go into the different types of parts. Obviously, we have different parts when it comes to legs. I'm pretty sure some people here are getting flashbacks to when they thought they had a decent build for their AC, and then told, "Nope, you can't use that one. You're overweight."
Oof. That's impolite to say. I would think.
Yeah, it's basically the legs can determine how much load you can put on. Because you have biped, you have quadruped, you have tank treads, and of course, when it comes to arms, those can have their own factors as well, and the weapons for ACs, as well as shoulder-specific equipment. The only kind of equipment that isn't talked about here that is a staple of AC is back weapons. They were not in this originally. The Frontier F mod for Armored Core 6 has added them back in. And
can I tell you an impression I had of putting together ACs just from the little bit I've done, which is that I got access to the part shop after the second mission, and I was like, wow, it's gonna take me a while to figure all this out. Oof, lots of things to buy.
there is a lot there and a lot of customization.
Yep.
Which is... heavy customization is standard fare when it comes to mech games, video game or tabletop.
Yeah.
And of course, there's interior parts, and the FCS I mentioned before is fire control system. The thing that helps you shoot. Uh, and of course the generator, because the more powerful your armament, the more energy you need.
You don't mind if I just hop in here real quick, right?
Hey there, brother. Hey.
Hello.
Good evening.
I did not know this finally got translated, so I just skimmed through the book real quick, and it seems pretty good.
Yeah.
Don't spoil it. I haven't read that far.
But there's also a sidebar about ACS loading and staggering. Many weapons used on Rubicon 3, including those used on ACs, are equipped with attitude control systems. So a weapon can maintain its position without tipping over or losing its balance in the air. But if the ACS receives an impact or damage that exceeds its load limit, an abnormality occurs, where the unit will be unable to continue controlling its attitude and the unit will temporarily stop moving. Basically staggering. So we have a way to integrate the whole stagger mechanic that's key to AC6.
It's still definitely a controversial addition to Armored Core, but
yeah, but so was the quick boost that was added in 4.
fair.
Like, there's always this mindset among some folk of anything that changes from what came before is bad.
Yeah, and 4 changed a lot, and a lot of people love 4.
And then 4 Answer decided to go, I am speed.
Yes, and then we have 5, which is like, hey, where's our speed?
Oh,
Wow, I didn't know there was Armored Core Edition wars.
it's about as dumb as when people argue until they're blue in the face over what are true Final Fantasy entries and what aren't.
It's very much. It's like
11,
like
14.
dealer's choice.
But after that, they go into augmented humans. Anybody who is able to operate an AC is an augment. There are 10 generations of augmented humans. And of course, being independent mercenaries, the support organization All Mind.
Totally not evil. Don't know what you're talking about.
As well as clients like the different companies and organizations such as the Archibus Corporation, or its subsidiary Schneider, or
Not
Balam
Dark
Industries.
Schneider.
We're not talking about Accept. What are you on?
Oh, sorry. I was thinking of a different bastard.
And things
Thank
like
you.
the Balam Industries, the Planetary Closure Administration and their enforcement squads, the Rubiconians, the Rubicon Liberation Front, and BAWS, or Bellius Applied Weapons System. And just going into the different factions. As well as the types of weapons. And things like MTs or muscle tracers. ACs are an evolution of muscle tracers, which are mechs that can't have their parts replaced. They can use different weapons, but I know it would be tempting to say, "Oh, MTs are just a weaker version of ACs." No, they can still. An MT that knows what they're doing can still kick your ass.
But they're not modular. They don't have that Lego, je ne sais quoi
No,
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah,
But,
like each one of their machines are bespoke made, while an armored core you can mix and match better.
Yeah.
it is it is not far removed from the difference between a battle mech and an omni mech.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're omni mechs certainly have a lot more variety in terms of what you can do with them, but a bullet from either is still painful.
A bullet is still painful.
Yeah. Or I think another way to put it is antiques can still kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Uh, but a lot of chapter 1 is just going into the bare basics and um, baseline knowledge for players and GMs. But then we get to the player section. And this was something that was mentioned before you hopped on, but the PCs can either be a pilot or an operator. And if you've got 4 people in the party, it's assumed that one of them is the operator.
Huh.
Uh,
That's interesting.
mhm. So there must be when it comes to ACs and operators, there must be 3 ACs in one unit. Each player is in charge of 1 AC. If there's 1 to 2 players, the remaining ACs will fight together as ally units. Operators wouldn't be used in that case. If there's 3 players, 1 may choose to act as the operator. If there's 4, 1 must be the operator. Uh, the ones that used an ally unit is referred to as an allied wingman. And as far as making the PC, there's a few steps on that. Creating the AC either through assembly or using a sample entry. Decide on your profile and thus your call sign, and then for operator, choosing an operator profile and then determining operator skills. So because of that, we do kind of have an answer to that question.
So PCs make an AC operate, or rather, yeah, each player makes an AC. Each operator gets some skills going
Yep.
on.
So you can either use one of the pre-gen ACs or do full assembly. They do not recommend people do full assembly for their first time. It looks like, which is fair. Building an AC is an involved process.
Yeah, these character sheets are pretty dense.
Mm-hmm. But then it go for operator profile. You're choosing operator skills in line with the PC's unit level. We'll get into that in a bit. Then they go into sample ACs. One of them is choosing the unit level, which is going to be between 10 to 30. Then picking a sample AC, choosing a favorite for one of the 6 types provided, a set assembly and skills sheet, and the unit level is overall strength. So the first time unit level should be level 10. Unit level 30, it would be for scenarios that the GM is cooking up. And then it goes into some of the sample ACs that we have. So we've got some at unit level 10 and the rest at 30. Each of which have skill sheet and a few skills tied to them. The ones at level 30 have 6 skills to them. The ones at level 10 have 2. And then it goes into how to read the sample sheet. So we have the profile, the basic data for the parts, the upper load limit. Remember what I mentioned about overweight earlier? The behavior judgment. So standard values for behavior determination. Power correction for attacks. Mobility. So this is the EN dice and movement and evasion costs. Defensive performance, i.e., how much you can take. The AP and part determination. AP, of course, is armor points, the equivalent of HP. The weapon data, so this is going to be the data on the armaments. The AP proper, the armament performance, the skill sheet, a sample image, and the skills. And then we have the samples proper. The first one is a medium weight biped. No quirks, easy to use, average in all areas. I do like that they do give some strategy advice on how to use it. And I'm not turning the PDF sideways for this.
Oh, come on.
I mean, look, it's for the folks following at home. They can just pull up the PDF themselves.
Mm-hmm. But then you can kind of see how it's set up here. And when we get to full creation, we'll be able to go into a bit more detail. But then we have one for a lightweight biped. I do like that even in this distant future, the shotgun is still a Spaz 12.
I mean, if you're gonna make any shotgun and mech size it, it might as well be the Spaz.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I just find it funny that it has a stock stock that you're never going to use. That you're never going to use. But then we have a lightweight reverse joint entry. With a very long pistol.
Pistols are like even the end game. The pistols are pretty decent.
Mm-hmm. I can't unsee that being a deagle.
It's not. You're not wrong.
Then we have a medium tetrapod. Then a tank type. Although that's a very tall. Yep.
Oh, though that's the
This is a light tank.
I forget the name, the proper name, but everybody just calls it the wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
It does look like one.
Mm-hmm.
Then the heavy tank.
It's like, oh hey there, gamer. It's like, you playing a mech game? Are you sure you want to play a mech game, not a tank game?
If I had a light tank, I'd probably call it Bonaparte.
Mm-hmm. Then a medium biped. Then a heavy biped. Then a lightweight reverse joint. Then a medium reverse joint.
I do like the way the reverse joints look.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're always my favorite in Armored Core. And I really like the look of the medium one they have in the book here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Then a medium tetrapod. And a different heavy tank.
Huh.
I like
This
how
is-
they didn't even give you the example of like, oh hey, we're not giving the of the double miniguns with 2 cannons strapped to its back.
like this one just kind of looks like they're leaning back almost all the way, just kind of like, ah, yeah, I'll just shoot you from here.
Mhm.
I mean,
It's whatever. I'm just gonna hang out, snipe a little bit.
A stoner
like
sniper. What a
pass-
terrible idea.
Just pass me a beer, huh? Just hand me a thank you.
I'm getting the munchie, guys. Walter, we need a resupply. I ain't got no Doritos.
But unit level is meant to determine overall strength of ACs. It's used when assembling. Each allied unit is composed of multiple parts, and the part price is represented by the number of stars. Which I'm fine with that instead of doing numeric money, because that might get a little bit insane. But unit level overview is determined by cumulative coam divided by 20,000 plus 10. Unit level minimum is 10 and maximum is 30. 10 is the recommended, as we mentioned before. So coam is the reward you get when you complete tasks. And yes, coam is like money in other TRPGs, but it's treated more like an XP. And going into the part price, which is represented by stars. Wrong game. I already covered a Resident Evil game months ago. Which is still going to be more entertaining than that Resident Evil movie that's in the works that isn't even a Resident Evil movie.
And that apparently has like some showings where like an audience member gets up and can do something involving the movie. Have you heard about this?
I've heard about it. I'm not impressed.
Yeah, it doesn't sound great, does it? I mean, if you're going to have an interactive experience like that, you would want it to be kind of a one-on-one kind of thing. Or just, play a video game.
That kind of interactive setup is better served by individual theaters doing it as a one-off gimmick. Say the stuff that Alamo does, or I remember one theater having timed pyrotechnics for a showing of Commando.
Well, I have to assume that they're going to advertise those type of shows, because they're not all going to be that. Some of them are going to have some going to have the audience participation. I would assume the lion's share are not. So it's probably based on what the individual theater wants to do.
Yeah. So with assembly, the stars are the budget in a sense for that AC. It says each player chooses all parts and armaments for their AC so that their total part price, number of stars, is below the unit level, and assembles their own AC.
That's clever.
I do like they put it is strongly recommended that a player who's played at least one long scenario session using a sample AC before doing assembly, which is fair. So, first part is, of course, getting the sheet. I do like that they make it clear assembly takes a long time. At the very least, estimate unit level plus 30 minutes. And obviously, you cannot enter assembly while the scenario is in progress. But first off, you get out a blank sheet. then check unit level. Um, if you're doing if you're starting out, the GM will decide unit level. If you're doing campaign play, um, where you're doing multiple scenarios consecutively, then you would check the current unit level because that will go up. Uh, then you select parts. Each type of part has a part price and part selection. When selecting, make sure that the total price is equal or less than the unit level. You select parts for your AC along with keeping the total part price below the unit level. And then they go into the different types of parts. You need to have at least one head, core, arms, legs, FCS, generator, and booster of the unit's armaments with left and right weapon and left and right shoulder, only one of each. In the case of
head and shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes.
In the case of legs, tanks, if you pick tank, you don't get boosters.
I assume that lines up with what happen you can do in the actual game, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if you're picking tank treads, you're not picking it because you want mobility. You're picking it because you're expecting to be slugging it out.
Mm-hmm.
Slugging it out
or you want really, really heavy weapons.
But tank and boost is a best match.
Ha.
That's how you get the battering ram attack right there.
I wonder if they're going to add the I know in the game proper, if you're not a quad, if you don't have quad legs or a tank, you have to pause to use your shoulder weapons.
Mm-hmm. And I look at that as a throwback to the early days of back weapons, where you couldn't use back weapons and move. Now, of course, if you took Human Plus in the first game, you could do that, but
yeah.
But the trade-off is that back weapons or the like are very, very powerful. They're usually the strongest weapons in the games. Obviously, we don't have back weapons here because they weren't in Vanilla 6, but you still have that whole thing. And the difference between sometimes shoulder weapons can just be a backup weapon, and sometimes there's something a bit more dedicated. But you can see an example of the categories being entered, and not every entry has a star rating. Like in this one, you've got the head, core, arms, and legs don't, but they do provide a certain amount of AP. The FCS is 1 star. The generator is 1 star. The booster is 3 stars. The right weapon is 1 star. The left weapon is 2. The shoulder weapon is 0, and the left shoulder is 2, which that still adds up to 10 stars total. So your level is effectively a parts budget.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of reminds me of Lancer a little bit.
But you also have to make sure that the loading limit is met. The max load capacity is determined by your core, legs, and generator. Armed weight load must be less than the limit weight load in the load limit column. Armed EN load must be equal to or lesser than the limit EN load. And if you don't meet both of the above conditions, you can't assemble that kind of mech. And if they're not met, then you need to switch out parts until you meet those prerequisites. So if we have an example part here that has a limit weight load of three and an EN load of 2.
Oh.
And the 3 is generated from the legs, the 2 is generated from the generator. And this is also where we have the behavioral judgment for things like system failure, search, hacking, maneuver. These are generated by the head units, as well as the legs and booster in the case of maneuver. And
I think your enjoyment of this game is going to largely depend on your tolerance of, working with these different figures when you're putting your AC together. If it makes your head fry, makes your brain explode, you're probably not going to enjoy this very much.
Yeah, which I don't want it to be changed to accommodate people like that, and you can still get a decent amount of enjoyment just from the pre-gen mechs.
Sure.
And even then, you can take a pre-gen and add to it.
Mm-hmm. It's the same.
Indeed.
It's the same as using a constructed deck as your starting setup in a TCG.
Exactly. You just pick something and then you just add on to it, as the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Take out what you feel is just dross and pop in the stuff that you feel is really good.
Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that they should change it or make it something different than what it is. I'm just pointing out who's going to benefit the most from this. And there's going to be people who makes it, this kind of construction makes their brain buzz too, right? So, two types of players here. Some will like it, some will not. So,
if you're coming into an Armored Core game and not expecting that level of customization, does make me wonder what you were doing here, or what you expected.
It could have been an issue of my friends all wanted to play this, so I decided to play it with them.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, this is way bigger than that. This is way easier than some other mecha RPGs.
Yeah, I mean, this is already a bit lower of a skill floor than, say, Mechton. Much as I love Mechton,
I was just about to bring that up.
Don't get me wrong, I love Mechton to death, but especially if you bring in Mechton Plus into the mix, you can do a lot with its mech creation, but it is a high skill floor.
For context, they just give you a points pool and tell you to go literally make your mech.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I make a mech that fuses with other mechs?
There is a way to do it, and I really don't want to go into it.
Well, you got to be built by Zordon first of all.
Zordon, nothing. I want to throw galaxies at people like Shuriken.
Ooh.
Anyway, getting back on the rails, you also enter the power correction for the AC. This is the total value of power modifiers shown in ARMS and FCS. And this kind of modifier is going to be based on each individual weapon. So for the example here, we have a -5 for the handgun shotgun. And 0 for the rifle machine gun, and 5 for the missile cannon. As well as 0 for the proximity and BGL. Then entering in mobility. This is the EN dice and movement and evasion costs. There are 3 types of EN dice: the maximum value, the start of turn, and each is calculated. each of the 3 types of EN dice is determined by the total values of core and generator. Movement and evasion costs are determined by legs and generator. So for this example, we have a max value of 5 from the generator. Start of turn for EN dice, and then two more. So at start of turn, then start of turn. That wording is a little bit odd, but I will come back to that when we get to how the movement economy works. But you have a cost for movement and a cost for evasion. And I'm going to assume that your choice of booster will modify them individually instead of a universal modifier. And then you enter in defensive performance, which is determined by the legs. In this case, bullets, anti-explosion, and energy. Then the AP part. So your AP is determined individually by your parts and then as a whole, and then combined. And for the AP and the arms, you enter the same value in both left and right sections. Every 10 points is 10 AP. The approach is like for example, the core is 60, then 3 lines. So you have 60 AP that's put in 3 lines, and remember each dot is 10 AP. So it goes 10 AP in the AP record, represents 10 AP points. The 10th 8 in a row will be treated as an AP 1 line. The maximum AP is represented by filling in the unnecessary 10s with black dots. So I was actually looking at this backwards. It's the you're filling out the parts that aren't part of your setup. So I should have been looking at the parts that weren't black dots. I think that's just a habit from World of Darkness on my part. So, for example, core 60, 3 lines, so you can see 3 lines of 6 for the core. The arm has 81 lines, so you have just 1 full row set up. Same with the left arm. And legs have 52 lines. This particular row-based setup in a roundabout way reminds me of what we saw in Oka Hoshin.
Yep.
Then you then enter in armament data. And this can either be number of bullets or power modifications. So it looks like we have a thing where energy weapons aren't going to be worried about bullets, but you are going to have to worry about energy use. And then they give an example of how it's set up. So you essentially fill it. It looks like you fill it in kind of the way you filled it with ammo, kind of the way you filled in AP. In terms of rows like that. I do like that we have a potential cost for different levels of damage. That's something I think we'll get into when we get further into combat. But then unit skills. The legs determine the skill sheet, which can have effects that become available as your unit level increases. Uh, Unit skills or skill sheets determined by legs, with options changing depending on leg type. These are automatically determined if you're using one of the sample ACs. If you're assembling manually, you select skill numbers equal to unit level rounded down on the skill sheet and check it to acquire it. You can select unit skills based on your unit's level divided by 5. And then we do have a nice little short chart of how many AC skills you have available based on unit level. It is interesting that unlike with the pre-gens we saw earlier, the unit levels here go up to 50, which is the max unit level in the game. I know we haven't gotten into individual parts. We're saving the parts for when we get to the garage, because that's going to be
that's
a
gonna
lot.
be a long one.
But then they go into the operator role.
This one's probably going to be the most interesting.
Where you have profile, you have your basic abilities, action, judgment, assist, combat support, obedience, support actions and obedience, and your operator skills. So your skill count is much like with how it was with ACs. It's unit level divided by 5. So at the start, you have 2 skills available. At max level, you'll have 10. They do give a couple recommended skills for first timers, but they mention that operator is a support role. They go into the overview of behavior, so for judgment, assist, and support actions. That it's quite a bit of columns, and there's less data for operators than for ACs.
That's a potential solution to the tag along player that I pointed out before.
But see, basically all the operator's abilities are shown on the operator sheet. For players playing as the operator for the first time, it may be difficult to understand the rules by just looking at the sheet. So then they outline the general roles of the operators. They can be broadly divided into 2 types. The first is the role of the first type is to assist in action judgment. When an allied unit makes an action judgment, the operator makes one at the same time. The results of the operator's action judgment does not directly affect the scenario content, but if successful, it will lower the target value of that action judgment by 1. In other words, it'll be easier for allies to succeed in their action judgments. The second role is to support actions during battle. Operators are dealt action order cards, like other allies during battle, and at the start of their turn, at the start of their action, they get op dice. The op dice are handled by the same rules as the AC's EN dice, and are the cost for the operator's various support actions. If the action check assist with action judgment is successful, it'll increase the success rate of action checks. In addition, the operator's action check assist will be 2d plus 3 for more for any action check. The standard value of plus 3 is clearly higher than the sample AC of a squad level 10, meaning the operator is more likely to succeed at action checks than other allies. By acquiring the operator skill Assist Aptitude, you can further increase the success rate of action judgment assists. And as far as support behavior, these are actions performed during battle, and are basically the 4 types shown in the support actions and operator dice on the sheet. Cheer, repair kit support, ammo refill support, and dodge call. These 4 types of support actions can be performed by any operator, regardless of whether they have the operator skill or not. There are 3 additional types of support actions: rapid order, offense order, defense order, which can be performed by learning them as operator skills. So when performing a support action, you must pay the die cost in the cost column. You pay that with op dice. The rules for EN value, maximum EN dice, and at the start of a turn are the same as for the EN dice. Each value in the op dice can be strengthened by learning the judgment, grasping, or responsibility operator skills. You can relearn preferred operator skills during assembly, so we do have respecking as an option. And there's also a few things for helping a scenario go a bit smoother. It looks like map combat is optional. Which is going to be interesting. I doubt it's going to be using the standard combat grid that we've seen that people might think. Because when Kamigakari got covered in this channel, it was using its own combat grid, and its mechanics were very much built around that combat grid specifically. It does mean it's easier to just set things up quickly though, because you don't have to lug around a full setup. I mean, you could probably replicate your setup in that way, but it's not like the full grid combat set piece you'd see in D&D. But
this is an interesting grid setup.
But that more or less covers the intro and player section. And this sort of thing of backloading the actual equipment and abilities and the like, that's pretty standard among a lot of Japanese tabletop I've seen. Of having a dedicated data section closer to the back. But I know we haven't gotten into how the dice are going to work, but what do you guys think of the current setup that we have for AC6, at least in terms of this this opening part?
The man who translated this is a madman, and I appreciate them so much.
Yeah, like this is a pretty dense book thus far.
Yep, he's he really had to dig in on this one, that's for sure. Other thoughts though. Yeah, again, I think would be if you like building, Legoing together, mechs, it's going to be a fun game. Because I think it sounds like you're going to need to do it like on a per session basis. Potentially. If you're going to be changing up your mech build to your AC build to take on different challenges.
Which that is pretty standard for AC, where a lot of times you were spending time in the garage specifically for a certain type of mission. And as much as somebody might say, quadrupeds or tank treads are lame, I'm not gonna use those. You may run into missions where you're gonna need that.
Mm-hmm. I remember one specifically. On third run through, I had to completely scrap my normal build because they just threw a bunch of really tough enemies at me all at once in like 3 or 4 waves.
Yeah, the point is don't get too attached to one particular build, because missions are going to come up that will force you to adjust.
Think of it, it's almost like Lancer in a way, where you may have your specific mech, but then you also are very encouraged on having other mechs in a roster that you can swap in and out of.
And it's for that I know for some they have an issue with the fact that there isn't like a stat setup for the pilot part of things. But given the fact that this is encouraging you to have at least a main and possibly some backup um, mechs, having a pilot sheet like that would just muddy things up for not enough reward.
Yeah. And especially for something like Armored Core, where
Mhm,
I
mhm.
don't think at any point in the Armored Core games you've ever been like a person on foot. The
You
idea of
haven't.
having a pilot, yeah, the idea of having a pilot stat sheet, it feels kind of redundant. I could see that
Hmm.
being more of a thing in something like Lancer because there are situations where you would be on foot.
Yeah, in something like Lancer or Battle Century G, uh, you definitely have those kind of moments. But AC has never been that kind of game, and I think a lot of people have been when they've been looking at this game. They've been looking at it through the lens of how one looks at other TTRPGs as far as base expectations, and not thinking of the fact that this is adapting a specific game and needs to carry in its specific quirks.
Mhm.
Uh, so for example, it's the I'd imagine the reason why we have like the energy setup that we do is because it's replicating how energy is just key to how you approach the sandbox that is Armored Core within the games. Uh, Plus, one of the reasons I wanted to tackle this is I wanted to look at it on its terms rather than what I've seen a lot of people do is look at games as if there's a set of bullet points that a game has to meet, even if those bullet points don't make sense for what it's trying to do.
Hmm.
This is not something where
Maybe
you're
that.
gonna hack it to make Gundam. There are other games that can do that. This is expressly for Armored Core and Armored Core 6 specifically.
Right. If you want to play a Gundam RPG, you can play Mechaton or Gundam RPG, which is almost which is similar enough to Mechaton.
Battle Century was it called?
Yeah, Battle Century G, which if somebody is looking for just a general purpose mech RPG, that's the one I usually recommend to folks because it's a
I still need
nice
to go play
middle
that.
ground. Is it as customizable as Mechton? No. Is it is it as is it as light as Beam Saber? No. It's right in the middle. and hey hey there, Di. How you doing? um, but this was always going to be a dense affair. I don't think you can do Armored Core without it being dense. Especially since the garage is going to have its own expectations. What I'm going to be particularly interested is the fact that it looks like the only people who are going to be using dice are the players. The GM is going to be using a playing card deck. And I've always been in favor of playing card mechanics in RPGs. But I think one of the other things to tackle is what even though we don't have the proper skill list yet, what do you guys think of the whole uh, operator part of the scenario?
Like, I don't mind it. I games like this, I really need to like do more than just look at it. I need to be able to like get my hands on it and really like give it a shot, you know. do the building, do all of that, and then actually try and play it. So, but
Special.
it looks good. Like, not gonna lie.
And the operator looks like the operator looks like somebody that is very very much into role play, or somebody that's like very
Hmm.
new to like tabletop RPGs.
The
My question
FNG.
is, yeah. My question is, what's the player going to do while the AC players are building mechs? Are they just going to
It
get on the PS5 and play actual Armored Core? What's going on there?
it looks like it looks like they allocate their own skills in that same garage phase.
Oh, do they? Okay.
And
They have act like they will have the same amount of skills that the AC players have, but they may have more like a more fleshed out skill list.
Okay. Okay.
And also, they are going to go and control any friendly NPCs on them as well.
yeah,
That was something
the
that we kind of glossed over.
yeah, the other thing is, in addition to the skill slots, there's a set of baseline actions that they have. I think that was made pretty clear.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a lot of sub roles that they can
Combat
do.
support actions.
Yeah, so I would, if I were to draw a parallel when it comes to the operator, we've had plenty of games that have had the disembodied person giving advice. You know, your oracles in the Batman universe and the like. Um,
Rangers, Rita's escaped.
um,
Sorry.
The guy
and
in the chair.
yeah, I'd also throw in the protagonist in Dispatch and just just that whole concept to a
Mhm.
certain extent.
He
So
like the operator can hack, so yeah.
and you know, if you've seen any cyberpunk work, there's always the operator in the back doing some kind of support in that form. Even in something like the Matrix, you had that because somebody
having
has to
that
find
armor.
out the right way to get out.
You know, someone needs to be able to call you while you're inside.
Mhm. But when we come back at this next week, we will be delving into the crunch proper. This is a common thing among a lot of Japanese tabletop of giving you the baseline and then putting the hard crunch further back. Like, let me see here. So yeah, next is going to be the base rules section. I don't know why I wrote player section twice when I wrote the schedule. That's my bad.
Well, you know, it's the player section and the player section.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So we'll mainly be covering the rules section next week. Um, and as we might cover rules in battle. I'll probably end up adjusting the way I have the schedule written on my end, but we will be getting into how the dice are going to be slung about. I'm not surprised that we're using d6s, and I think given the resource-based approach that we're using, d6s are the right call.
it's easy to get a handful of D6s.
Yeah. I mean, this would certainly be a better move than doing like a 2d6 strict setup like BattleTech would for something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't get me wrong, I like BattleTech, but I have a love-hate relationship with the insistence on using the same die setup across both the war games and the TTRPGs. It's part of the reason why I didn't spend too much time with the original Mech Warrior TTRPG. and Time of War had other problems. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll be back with more of AC6 next week, and we will be delving into more of Valborn tomorrow. Actually getting into the crunch for that game. And and Riona, hey there, you are the winner of the Doku challenge. But there's gonna be some interesting material. I both look forward to and dread when we get to the garage section because of how many parts we're gonna be going through. But I do think when we do get to that part, it's going to make things click significantly more.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be something for later in the coming weeks. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.
Goodbye.